Welcome, everyone, to this explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're going on a bit of a chronological detective journey. You know that famous biblical text you probably think you know inside and out? Well, we're unlocking Matthew chapter 9 today, specifically the incredible story of the bleeding woman. We're going to strip away centuries of assumptions and just look strictly at the narrative flow, the context, and what the text actually tells us about faith. As we started digging into this, the details hiding right in plain sight turned out to be absolutely fascinating. Let's look together.
Let's start right off the bat by challenging the popular imagination. Picture the scene, right? A massive crowd pressing in, a desperate woman reaching out in secret, and then a sudden, miraculous healing. For a very long time, many readers have looked at this exact moment and wondered, did this healing happen because there was some sort of magical, radiating power in the fabric of the cloak itself? Like, was it the garment that actually healed her? Well, we're going to challenge this slightly superstitious view that's kind of crept into the way we naturally understand this event.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. Not just a symbol.
So we really need to talk about what's often called tassel theology. This is the widely held misconception that the woman's healing was triggered by the mystical power of the kanaf, the literal fringe of the garment. Some theories even suggest she was trying to trigger a specific end times prophecy from Malachi chapter 4, which talks about healing in the wings or fringes of a garment. But honestly, when we look closer, reducing this whole profound moment to a magical artifact misses the point entirely. It wasn't some mechanical transaction. It was all about a deeply personal faith. Let's move to Section 2, the catalyst of public testimony. To figure out where her faith actually came from, let's do a quick zoom out. Just look at the sequence of events right before she steps in. First, Jairus, who is a highly respected synagogue leader, approaches Jesus. Second, he does something absolutely shocking for a man of his status. According to Matthew 9:18, he publicly bows down and pleads for Jesus to raise his daughter. And third, the woman in the crowd witnesses this whole exchange. Guys, this literally cannot be overstated. Seeing a synagogue leader publicly submit like this was a massive catalyst. It signaled to her and to everyone else watching that Jesus wasn't just some ordinary traveling teacher. He was someone who wielded the actual living power of God. Now, what's really interesting when we contrast these two ideas is how it clears up her true motivation. On one hand, we have that mystical belief, that tassel theology we just talked about, where the focus is all on objects. But on the other hand, we see the reality drawn directly from the text. Her faith was a willed response to Christ's reputation and the incredible public witness she saw right in front of her. She didn't approach because she had a superstitious belief in a piece of fabric. No way. She approached because she recognized the person of Jesus himself. And this fits the general pattern of the Gospels perfectly. Faith is born from hearing and seeing the mighty works of Christ. Which brings us to Section 3, courage amidst impurity.
So why did she approach in secret? Why not just walk right up and ask for healing? Well, the historical context reminds us of her truly heartbreaking reality. She was considered ritually impure. And in that culture, this condition meant intense, crushing social isolation. Because of this, she harbored an extreme, almost paralyzing fear of public rejection. I mean, if she touched someone in that crowd, she rendered them impure as well. She simply could not openly stop a rabbi in the middle of the street the way a respected leader like Jairus just did. She was terrified, hidden, and pushed to the absolute margins of her society.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real heart of the story. If I only touch his cloak, I will be healed. When you truly understand her profound social isolation and ritual impurity, this quote completely transforms. It's not a statement of superstition at all. Amidst her deep, isolating fear, she possessed a profound, active courage. She was bravely seeking his mercy when literally every societal rule told her to stay far away. The emotional and theological focus here isn't on a tassel. It's on a courageous faith desperately reaching out for compassion. Moving on to Section 4, personal relationship and restoration. Let's solve the puzzle of why Jesus reacted the exact way he did. The logic here actually changes everything. Think about it. If the core of the story was just a magical touch fulfilling an end times prophecy, the touch would have been enough, right? She's healed, the crowd moves on, end of story. But notice what actually happens. The story doesn't end there. Jesus actually stops dead in his tracks, turns around, and calls her out. Look at the incredibly deliberate actions in Jesus' restorative response. First, he stops the procession entirely. He pauses the whole show just for her. Second, he calls her out specifically to speak with her face to face. Third, he uses his words to lovingly confirm her active faith. And finally, by acknowledging her in front of that very crowd that would have otherwise ostracized her, he publicly restores her social dignity. I mean, this reaction definitively proves that the theological focus of this story is on immense mercy and the restoration of human dignity. It is absolutely not about fulfilling a symbol on a piece of clothing. So the crucial point comes down to this. The center of this incredible narrative is not the object that was touched. It never was. The absolute center is the living person of Jesus. This is a story about a deeply personal relationship. It's the story of a faith that leans entirely on a living, powerful Savior who actually sees us, stops for us, and completely restores us.
I want to leave you with a final thought to reflect on today. When we look at our own contextual understanding of this text, and maybe even how we approach our own faith, are we seeking a magical fix, a simple transaction, or maybe a tassel theology of our own? Or are we, like the courageous woman in the crowd, seeking a deeply personal encounter with the living Christ? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this empowers you to read these remarkable texts with fresh eyes.